life. Life in the universe is linked to the stars, being these entities the life creators through their starlight, which carry intelligence or will to think within. When this light interacts with warm bodies of water, thin layers of material develop over time, similar to cyanobacteria on its surface, with a primordial intelligence to react to light, and under these ideal conditions, some of these pseudo-algae manage to cling to the ground over time, continuing their long process of becoming first a type of fungus, then plants, and finally animals. The light coming from the stars would be the source of all these intelligent life processes. The Itans. In this way, various species were already present in the universe, including a lineage of beings of unknown origin with immense intelligence and science. They lived and moved through the entire cosmos, but they considered their physical appearance imperfect, a flaw they sought to transform and improve, which the author of this book speculates would have reptilian traits. Having failed to achieve immortality and incorruptibility for their bodies, they decided to leave behind the physical form, taking the state of the soul as being present on another existential plane. They were free from the natural laws of life. After a while of being thinking entities, they were able to perfect themselves as a species in unity, however. As time passed, they began to feel incomplete and empty. As they shed their bodies, they forgot about the emotions associated with life, such as love, sex, union, and so on. So they began to develop the concept of creating a type of living vehicle suited to their needs, which would be the original human. The human seed. The original human's information was compressed and encapsulated as if it were a virus to be introduced into the matrices of various plant and animal species. This seed energy was dispersed using the constantly moving forces of the light emitted by the stars, which in the universe exerts pressure on everything it touches. The creators waited a reasonable amount of time for these seeds to develop, taking advantage of the unique biological and genetic structures of the living entities in which they were inseminated in order to create the original human being. After the long wait, they discovered that only 3 of the thousands of planets had succeeded, and not in the same way. The planets were Spani, Eden, and Nigeriazi. The creators had a dual, anemic nature, with some having bad instincts and others having elevated feelings. They chose between the 3 human vehicles based on their affinity or condition of manifestation. These souls, when introduced into those bodies, suffered a necessary traumatic process, forgetting everything that happened when they were souls and being born unaware of the reason for their existence, unless another being reminded them, or they realized it for themselves. The Eden, Baldan. Also known as Baladon, Baal, or Baal is the root of the word ball, which is a sphere or globe, so Baladon means Eden globe. Baladon is presumably found around the Orion Nebula and Belt. This planet, which is larger in size than Earth, would have a weak magnetic attraction and low gravity, creating ideal conditions for life. Furthermore, the concept of day and night does not exist in this world. It is speculated that it could be located in a binary system or even a trine of sun. They observed that in Baladon, this human originated from a large native tree with special properties unknown to us. This would be very similar to an oak that was able to host in its fruit uterus the seed produced by the creators. The fruit of the tree was of considerable size and similar in external appearance to a pomegranate or fig. Human creatures with well-developed intellectual and anemic capacities, as well as great physical beauty, would emerge from the gestation of this fruit, just as they had planned. Creatures of opposite sexes came out, becoming the first Eduans. The Eduan. The characteristics of Baladon helped the humans born in this world. Its weak gravity was beneficial to them, which helped them live much longer lives than those of Hispania and Earth. Their winters were marked by a lot of snow. These factors influenced the Eduan, resulting in their good physical constitution and proportions, standing taller than 2 meters with blonde or copper hair, blue eyes and light skin. Their population would live in temperate zones, occupying only 1/5 of the globe's vegetative surface. The Eduan flourished rapidly, establishing settlements and cities and reaching a high level of society and technology. At some point during this period, the reign of Hongoiko, known as the Lord of Heaven, and the Andibatsar, the great assembly of the wise elders in Edengar, Baladen's capital, would begin. During their reign, the Eduan would awaken from their ignorance of their origins and the existence of living beings on other worlds. Hongoiko, Almighty God. It is said that they created the Bialduotekai, or biotech, a machine capable of transmitting and recording events from other worlds at will, which has compiled information into their great academy about all events that occurred and are to occur. As a result, they began to decipher the mysteries and laws of the universe that surrounded them, eventually coming to understand the dual and imperfect nature of Ra, the demiurge creator. With over 300,000 years of reign, Hongoiko is revered as the Almighty God who surpassed Ra in dominating and perfecting creation. He was capable of restoring or extending life to living beings for long periods of time in the same physical body, something Ra cannot do. During this age, the Eduans explored and settled on other worlds. In this way, they would find the humans on the planet Ispani and Earth. Ispani. Hispaniae stands for pars property, par, later adopted in Latin as pater, padre, means father, the god creator, also known as the Sun Ra. This massive planet, much larger than Baladan, had a higher gravity and a less favorable atmosphere for life. It would orbit a red sun in the star cluster known as Pleiades, the famous Pleiades. Those from the land of Pa, or Pals, were the humans who emerged on this planet and did not originate from a tree, but rather from a living species completely unknown on Earth. The harsh conditions of this world harmed their physical and mental capacities. The Palace. The human Pales of Hispaniae, a massive planet orbiting a red sun. They had a slender physical build, a short stature and coppery skin, as well as dark, slanted eyes, straight black hair, and very little body hair. They were usually beardless, then settled in the ramifications of an immense river, and their lives were generally short due to a tendency toward low, violent instincts, such as cannibalism and infant sacrifice. The Pales would establish towns near large bodies of water where their diet consisted of fish, animals, and grains grown and cultivated on the riverbank. Later, they would build primitive cities adapted to lakes and rivers, organizing themselves as a pyramidal stepped society with an emperor or king at the top who had complete control over the lives of his people at the bottom step. The chiefs and the Kuras, who were priests in charge of the sacrifices to the sun god Ra and the emperor, as well as to reptiles that they praised in their temples or tanpales, consuming the blood of the victims to extend their life, became a bloodthirsty and violent civilization for a long time. The Heavens Wall. Gudaizeru. The Eduan initially detected humans in Hispania and Earth, but did not interfere with them. Then they decided to cross the Bai Laketu Milky Way to investigate where their technology's signal had issues and confirm the images received, eventually discovering the massive planet Hispani. The humans who lived on the planet were different from them, but morphologically very similar. They were still immersed in a primitive civilization influenced by ancestral creatures, with low instinct rulers who kept their subordinates fearful, docile, and servile. Seeing this unfortunate situation, Hongoiko decided to bring along a group of Pales who were best suited for developing their intelligence and solving their physical, social, and anemic issues. Returning to Baladan, he directed that these Pales coexist with the Eduan in order to gain technological knowledge and good soul qualities. After a long period of time, some of the Pales, who were already numerous, felt that their treatment was unfair and began to rebel, proposing a new social order with an extreme equity model and the same benefits for all, ignoring any hierarchy of rulers, elders, or heroes. Hongoiko and the sages of the Andibatsar recognized that behind this rebellion, disguised with ideals of justice and equality, the hidden intentions that were born out of the envy and resentment coming from these leaders. Because Pales capacities differed from the Eduans, both human lineages did not share the same biological anemic condition, despite sharing the same genetic mold, which caused the existing division and the prohibition of certain practices. The Pales argued that they could act and do the same as the Eduan, but they failed to convince Almighty God and the Andibatsar, as the scientific evidence proved otherwise, so they chose to begin a violent and dirty revolution in Baladan, triggering the war of the heavens against Hongoiko. After suffering numerous casualties, the proud revolutionaries were eventually defeated and begged the Almighty for mercy. Hongoiko was reluctant to exterminate them, so they signed a peace agreement that allowed these Pales to develop their civilization completely independently on the left side of the Milky Way, away from the galaxy's center, where there is supposedly a massive central sun and the reign of the Eduan is located right of it. After both parties accepted the treaty, the Eduans delivered several interstellar ships within a programmed route chosen by the Pales to the Pleiades, which was also within the agreed zone. So, thousands of Pales returned to Hispania,